authorities in New Mexico have launched a search at Zorro Ranch, a property formerly owned by Jeffrey Epstein. The search stems from allegations surrounding the estate that they were included in the recently released files. This isn't one of the files. It's an email that read, "Did you know somewhere in the hills outside the Zorro, two foreign girls were buried in orders of Jeffrey and Madam G, Ghislaine Maxwell. Both died by strangulation during rough fetish sex." New Mexico State Representatives Rebecca Dow and Stefani Lord are calling for a broader investigation into activities linked to the ranch, urging the state's Truth Commission to examine not only the individual misconduct, but also systematic failures that allowed this all to go down. All right, let's talk to them both. Rebecca and Stefani join us now. I'm glad you're here. Rebecca, I'm going to start with you. Talk about the investigation, what you're hoping to find, and where it's going to go from here.
Investigation meets its purpose. The victim should stay front and center. It should not be politicized, and no stone should be left unturned. Part of that is looking at the systematic failures that allows New Mexico to be a place where sex traffickers and those predators who prey on vulnerable populations continue to be sheltered. And so what are the laws, what are the policies and procedures, and what are the political powers that allow this to continue? If Richard Epstein moved to New Mexico today, we do not have a state law. We have failed to pass a state law that would require him to register in our state.
Well, that doesn't sound right. Stefani, can you talk more about that and the laws you got there and the hopes for this investigation into the Zorro Ranch?
Look, this commission has a job, and it's very simple. They have to follow their evidence wherever it leads. They can't ignore anything. They have to make sure that everybody that was involved in Epstein's world was accountable. He did not operate in a vacuum. There were breakdowns on multiple levels of government. We didn't understand exactly where the breakdowns are. We need to know, why was he not a registered sex offender in New Mexico? Were there any investigations delayed or shut down? And did anyone have any influence or connections in this role of why this wasn't investigated thoroughly?
What I find puzzling is in 2019, these women who apparently, according to the email and the files, that were buried and they died during whatever was going on out there. The radio host out there in 2019 got a tip. It was passed on to the FBI, Rebecca, and I guess not much was really done with it until now. Now it's gained more traction here. So can you explain why you think there is this lapse in the investigation?
And again, I just want to say that the victims deserve justice, but this isn't about one location or one incident. Today, we're talking about Jeffrey Epstein. Yesterday, it was Cesar Chavez. And we see headlines in New Mexico weekly on our Navajo Nation, on our Indian land, where we have missing and indigenous women. This is a weekly headline in New Mexico, and we have systematic failures that are allowing it to continue. And this Truth Committee would fall short of meeting their goal if they don't prevent this from happening again.
Stefani, final thoughts to you here. We got 30 seconds.
Yeah, I actually know the host that actually got that information, and he had told me about it. He did turn into the FBI. We always wondered what happened to that. He got that email that had that on there. But the big thing is, we cannot allow this to be on the surface level investigation. They need to go all the way, follow every single lead, and make sure that everyone involved is held responsible for this.
All right, investigate the Zorro Ranch. Fix the laws out there. Hard to believe it's so laxed at this point. Hate to hear that. All right. Rebecca Dow, Stefani Lord, I appreciate you both coming on. Thank you.